When most people hear the term Renaissance man, the first person they usually think of is Leonardo da Vinci. In this video, we will be looking at Leonardo's accomplishments, and we will be looking at what traits he had that let him become so famous for his work. Then I will show how we can apply some of his traits into our lives, so we can try to achieve some of the same results that he did. Leonardo is mainly known for his artwork, but he actually achieved way more than that. He mastered anything that he found interesting to himself. He also made many great discoveries that he never actually published. Once his notebooks were found, it was revealed that he made huge breakthroughs in multiple fields that other people got credit for, and he did it hundreds of years before anyone else. Leonardo had many factors that led to his genius mind. Some of these factors were external and hard to recreate, but his personality traits are internal, and we are able to recreate those traits in our own lives. The first trait I will be focusing on is self-education. Leonardo wasn't born a genius, but he became one out of his intense curiosity. Curiosity alone can't make you a genius. There are many curious people in the world that aren't geniuses, but what made Leonardo stand out is with his curiosity, he applied action to it. He would go out and learn the things that he was curious in, and he'd try to master them to the best of his ability. He was never content with not knowing something, and he always made it a point to find out how things worked in the world. For most people today, education stops after they either end high school or college, and most of that education was just the given coursework that they had. Normally, curiosity is supposed to go throughout your entire life. You're supposed to be learning as you go. It's those that actively seek out information that are the ones that are going to succeed the most. I believe that self-education is probably one of Leonardo's greatest traits. And if you had to choose only one from this list to apply to your life, it should be this one. Because this one will give you the most benefit for just changing one thing. People say, oh, I wish I knew how to play the guitar. Or, oh, I wish I knew how to play the piano. But what they don't do is they don't look up later that night how to play the piano. And we live in an age that is actually possible. Never before in history can you just go on a computer and look up the thing you want to learn. You used to have to get lessons, and it used to be a tedious process to learn how to do anything. But now we can just go on our computers and watch a video and get started right away. Leonardo would be very jealous of all the information that we have at our fingertips today if we just let it go to waste and don't apply it into our own lives. We need to take advantage of this fact and use it to learn new things. So whenever you have a question or you see a cool skill that you want to learn, don't think to yourself, man, I wish I knew how to do that. Instead, go out of your way and actually learn it. It'll be easier than you thought once you get started. The second trait I'll be focusing on was his ability to work well with others. Most of the paintings made by Leonardo were actually collaborative works that many people helped create. Experts are able to distinguish Leonardo's contributions to the work because he was left-handed and they can see that the strokes go the opposite way from everybody else. But many parts of Leonardo's paintings were actually painted by right-handed painters, which means they weren't completely Leonardo's paintings. So if someone as skilled as Leonardo da Vinci was able to let people work on his world-famous art with him, then it shouldn't be hard for you to ask for help when you get stuck on something. Most people will be happy to help you, and it's actually been proven to build stronger relationships with the person you're receiving the help from. The third trait of Leonardo's that we will be looking at is combining multiple fields of study. Leonardo saw art and science as the same thing, and in his mind, they actually were. He would use the science that he saw and the physics that he saw in the real world, and then go ahead and apply those directly to his paintings. And that's what made his painting stand out so much more from everyone else's. He also used his knowledge of physics to create many inventions for engineering, architecture, and military weapons. He then used his artistic abilities to convey his inventions to people. Without his drawings, many people would not be able to understand the concepts that he was talking about. His inventions would have sounded too complex to become a reality, and nobody would have bought them. People say that innovation occurs at the intersection of two or more fields, and Leonardo is proof of that. Try to combine the knowledge that you have from multiple fields, and don't be afraid to learn new things because they will help you in all of your other fields too. In my freshman year of college, I actually had an engineering competition where this actually applied to me. Because when I was younger, I used to make slingshots and I had a pretty good skill at building and shooting them. And when I got to this engineering competition, the goal was to create a method to get ping pong balls into the middle of a table. What they gave us was wheels, some pieces of wood, batteries, a motor, and some little round rubber bands that were meant to go around the wheels. So what everybody else did in the competition was made cars. They made battery-powered cars that would drive over the hole and drop the ping pong balls in. What I saw was an opportunity to do something completely different than everybody else. Because they gave us those rubber bands, I knew I could make a slingshot out of it in some way, and instead of using those batteries to power the car, actually used them as ammo. And what I did was I took the batteries, tied a string to it, and put the ping pong balls along the string in little cages that I made, and I would shoot the batteries into the hole, and the ping pong balls all followed it, and there was something on the end of the ping pong balls to block off the hole so they couldn't put any more ping pong balls in. And because of that, I actually won the competition due to my previous knowledge in slingshots, which may seem like a completely random skill to learn, but actually came in handy for this competition. The fourth trait of Leonardo's that we will be looking at is the fact that he left many of his projects unfinished. Many of these projects were actually already paid for by kings, and he was known to completely flee cities just because he didn't want to finish a project that he had started, because he lost interest in it. While this could be seen as a bad trait, and to many of his customers it definitely was, I actually see this as one of his defining traits that allowed him to learn so many things. Because when he lost interest in something, he didn't force himself to keep doing it. He got out of there in any way he possibly could because it wasn't interesting to him. He lived his life through interest. And that's what made him so passionate about the work that he did. He didn't do things because he was told to. He did things because he wanted to. And that's something we could all take as a lesson from him and try to apply it to our own lives. If we really don't like the work that we are doing, maybe we could find some way to get out of it and do something we actually do enjoy. You should never feel completely stuck doing something you don't enjoy. Leonardo risked angering powerful kings many different times in his life just because he lost interest in something. So if he could do that, you could just quit a job that you're not interested in anymore and pursue your true passion, whatever that may be. Leonardo's fifth trait is actually a negative one that we should try to avoid, and that trait is perfectionism. Leonardo was a huge perfectionist. He was always dissatisfied with his current skills because of his perfectionism. He always thought he could be doing better or doing more, and this caused him to learn more and work harder, but at what cost? He was never satisfied with his abilities. If he was never satisfied, he was never truly happy with the way he was. It's impossible to tell whether or not Leonardo would have accomplished more or less without this trait, but it definitely would have been better for his mental health if he wasn't such a big perfectionist. Because of this, he actually worked on the Mona Lisa for 10 years without ever considering it complete. He was rarely happy with his current state, and without this trait, he would have led a much happier life. I have felt this feeling before, and I made a post and a video to help others that feel the same way too. I'll link to that in the description and in the cards. The final trait of Leonardo's that we'll be looking at is another negative one, and it is procrastination. Many people don't know this because all they see are all of his huge accomplishments, but Leonardo actually procrastinated a lot. Procrastination was one of Leonardo's worst traits, but it's actually one of the traits that most people share with him. Leonardo was often disappointed in himself for not having the will to work on things, and he felt like he wasted his time too much. Self-motivation is one of the hardest skills to master, and very few people actually achieve it. I think one of the best ways that we can fight procrastination is by building small habits that mold the way we go about our days. You don't realize it, but almost everything that you do during your day is influenced by habits that you have. I'm currently reading the book Atomic Habits, and I've been applying the habits to my life, and I've noticed that they make a huge difference in the way my willpower works. Because when I'm making these decisions through habits, they're not using any of my willpower because I'm just getting used to them and doing them habitually. So the procrastination has nothing to manifest upon because I'm not making any of the decisions. They're just already created for me. So many people want to know, is what Leonardo did achievable today? I think the answer is both yes and no. There's too much information in today's world to possibly learn everything. But that was also true when Leonardo was alive. He didn't know everything. He was just constantly improving and trying to learn more. And that is something that we can do. If you want to learn more about Leonardo da Vinci's life, you could read the book Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. I'll link to it in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.